right, so are you ready
Hmm.
to like really dive deep into the world of horse breeding? We're not just talking about, the basics here. We're going to like help you prep for landing that like dream horse breeding job, right? So you've got this big interview coming up and we're going to dig into career guides and interview tips.
Oh, and, we'll even use a bit of AI magic from RoleCatcher,
Yeah.
just to make sure you totally crush it.
Yeah, and what's really cool about this deep dive is that we're really zeroing in on the specific knowledge and skills that you need to impress in these horse breeding interviews. Like you already love horses, obviously, right? Now it's all about showing off what your expertise to these potential employers. Exactly, and that's where RoleCatcher comes in. It's really amazing, actually. It uses AI to help you like tailor your resume and even your interview answers to each job. It's like your own personal job coach, but it uses data to help you stand out. But we'll get into like all the details about RoleCatcher later. But first, let's tackle a question that honestly they're going to ask you. Tell me about your experience.
Huh.
It's such a classic, but don't let it fool you. It's really important.
It is. It's your chance to really grab their attention and show off how passionate you are. So think beyond just, listing jobs that you've had before. This is where you can bring in all of those experiences that highlight your skills and how dedicated you are to horses.
Okay, so like that time you foaled a mare during a blizzard by yourself. Okay, maybe not that dramatic, but you get the idea.
Yeah, yeah. Did you volunteer at a rescue? Did you train a young horse and it went really well? Even like a personal project can tell them a lot about, your commitment.
Oh, and here's a tip. Use the STAR method. Situation, task, action, result. To structure your answer. It keeps you focused and they'll remember it. It's key to make sure you tailor your answer to the specific job, though.
For sure. If they're looking for someone who really knows breeding, highlight your experience with pedigrees, genetic testing, maybe even, assisting with artificial insemination.
Right, and if they seem to be really into horse welfare, talk about your experience with preventative care, nutrition, and creating a really enriching and safe environment.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of, specialized knowledge, these interviewers are going to want to know how much you really know about breeding practices. So let's say they ask, how do you select breeding pairs? Now you have to show them what you really know.
That's where it gets really interesting for me, because I love the science behind it all. It's not like you just pick the prettiest horses, right?
Right. It's about understanding breed standards and conformation, temperament, even performance goals. You've got to explain how these factors all work together and how they affect, the offspring, how good they are, and how valuable they are.
So if I'm breeding for dressage, I might choose horses that have calm temperaments and specific conformation traits that make them good at those elegant movements.
Exactly. And you could take it even further, by talking about specific bloodlines that are known to produce really successful dressage horses. Show them you've done your homework.
And that actually reminds me of how RoleCatcher can analyze the job description and point out the things the employer wants. When you can use that, right, to tailor your answers.
Totally. It's like having a cheat sheet that highlights what they want to hear.
Now, let's be real. Horse breeding is not always easy. So be prepared for that question.
Yeah.
Tell me about a time you faced a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone makes mistakes, but what matters is how you learn from them.
Yeah, so pick a real challenge that you've had, maybe a difficult foaling or a disease outbreak or a marketing setback, something like that. And use that, STAR method again to explain the situation, what you did, what happened.
Yeah, and be honest. It's way more impressive to admit a mistake and explain what you learned than to try and act perfect.
That's such a good point. And don't be afraid to talk about, what resources you used or if you asked for help. It shows that you're not, too proud to ask for help.
Okay, so now this next question, it's really relevant to lots of jobs, but especially for horse breeding. How do you balance the demands of running a breeding program with other commitments? How do you balance your work life with the rest of your life?
Yeah, the classic work-life balance. It's hard because horse breeding is a lifestyle. It's not just a job. So how do we make them believe that we can handle how dedicated you have to be without getting totally burned out? Be honest. Be upfront about how demanding the work is, but highlight how you manage your time. Maybe you have a really strict schedule or a good support network, or you're really good at prioritizing.
And I think it's also about showing how passionate you are. If you really love what you do, it doesn't always feel like work.
Yeah. When you're genuinely enthusiastic, people can feel that. That can make a big difference in an interview. All right, so let's talk about money. Interviewers will probably ask you, how do you manage the money part of your breeding program? This is where you show them you're good at business.
This is where I'd start sweating.
Hmm.
I'm not great with numbers.
Don't worry, you don't need to be a financial expert or anything, but you should know the basics of budgeting, tracking your expenses, maybe even marketing and sales.
So even if I don't have a lot of experience, I can still talk about how I'm willing to learn and use tools to help me with the money part of things.
Exactly. Show them you're proactive, that you want to learn new skills. And this is actually another place where RoleCatcher can be really helpful. Their career guides give you insights into, industry standards, like salary ranges and typical expenses for breeding.
So it's like getting a sneak peek at what the industry really costs.
Exactly.
Okay, now for a question that really makes you think big. They might ask, how do you see the future of the horse breeding industry?
Yeah. This is your chance to show that you're a leader. Talk about new trends like advancements in genetics, the growing popularity of certain disciplines, but also challenges like how expensive it is to care for horses and how competitive it is. Show them that you're paying attention to how the industry is changing and that you've thought about its future.
So it's like saying, I'm not just passionate about horses now, I'm passionate about their future.
Exactly. But we've only just started, we still have a lot more to talk about.
Don't worry, we're just getting warmed up. Come back for part 2, where we'll get into even tougher questions, and we'll go deeper into how RoleCatcher can help you really make your answers amazing. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back, everybody. Ready for round 2 of our deep dive into horse breeding interviews, that is. We've already gone over some common opening questions and how to show off all your experience.
Yeah, and now we're going to, saddle up for the questions that really get into what you know and how you solve problems, Like, what if they ask, how do you ensure the health and well-being of your horses? It sounds pretty simple, but they're looking for more than just, basic horse care.
Right. You want to show them that you think about horse health, like from all angles. Think about, nutrition, preventative care, how you manage the stables, even knowing how to spot those little signs that a horse is sick or stressed.
It's like you have this holistic view of horse, like wellness, right? You're not just treating problems, you're stopping them before they even happen.
Exactly. You could talk about different feeding programs and how you choose the right one based on the horse's age, breed, and how much they're working, or your super detailed preventative care routine like vaccinations, deworming, dental checkups, hoof care, all that.
Oh, and don't forget how important it is to have a clean and safe environment for the horses, right? Like if you mention how you manage your stables and how you pay attention to details, it shows them that you're creating a good space for the horses to thrive.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of thriving, let's not avoid the really tough questions. Interviewers, a lot of times they want to see how you solve problems. So they might ask something like, "Can you tell us about a time you faced a significant challenge in your breeding program?"
Oh, I can already feel myself getting nervous. It's like they're just waiting for you to mess up and show them some big weakness.
Well, they're not trying to trick you or anything. They just want to see how you handle, tough situations and if you learn from your mistakes. So pick a real challenge that you've had to deal with, maybe a really hard foaling or a disease outbreak or even a setback with your marketing, something like that. And use that STAR method again to explain what happened, what you did about it, and what the result was.
Yeah, and be honest. It's so much better to admit that you made a mistake and explain what you learned than to try and act like you're perfect.
For sure. And it's okay to talk about the resources you used, or if you had to ask someone for help, it shows that you're not afraid to, admit when you need help.
Okay, so this next question, it's one you get in a lot of different jobs, but it's especially relevant to horse breeding. They might ask, how do you balance the demands of running a breeding program with other professional and personal commitments? Oh yeah, the work-life balance question. Yeah. It's tough because, horse breeding it's a lifestyle. It's not just a 9-to-5 job. How do we make them believe that we can handle all the dedication it takes without burning out?
Well, you got to be honest. Be upfront about how demanding the work is, but also highlight how you manage your time. Do you have a strict schedule or a really supportive network that can help, or are you just really good at prioritizing tasks?
And I think it's also important to show them how much you love it. When you're really passionate about something, it doesn't always feel like work.
That's so true. And when you're genuinely enthusiastic about something, other people can feel it. It really makes a difference. Okay, now let's talk about money. Interviewers might ask, how do you manage the financial aspects of your breeding program? This is your time to show them you're good at the business side of things.
Oh man, this is where I'd get nervous. I'm not great with numbers.
Don't panic. You don't have to be, a financial expert or anything,
Huh.
but you should understand the basics, like budgeting, tracking your expenses, and maybe even, marketing and sales.
So even if I don't have a lot of experience with that kind of stuff, I can still talk about how I'm willing to learn and use tools to help me manage the money side of things.
Yeah, exactly. Show them that you're proactive and you're eager to learn new skills. And this is another place where RoleCatcher can be a lifesaver. Their career guides can give you like insights into what's normal in the industry, like salary ranges and typical expenses for breeding.
So it's like getting a sneak peek into how much things really cost in the industry.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so now for a question that really makes you think big picture, they might ask you, how do you envision the future of the horse breeding industry?
Right. And this is where you can really shine. This is where you can show them that you're a leader. So talk about new trends like advancements in genetics or the growing popularity of certain disciplines, but also talk about the challenges like how the cost of caring for horses keeps going up and how competitive the industry is. You want to show them that you're paying attention to how the industry is changing and that you've thought about what the future might look like.
It's like saying, I'm not just passionate about horses today, I'm also invested in their future.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I know we've given you a lot of tough questions to think about, but remember, preparing for these questions is the key to doing well in any interview.
And that's where RoleCatcher's AI-powered interview practice tool can be so helpful. You can practice answering all of these tough questions, and it can give you feedback on, how you're saying things and what you're saying. It's like having a personal coach in your pocket, helping you fine-tune your answers.
It's like having a secret weapon. But we're not done yet. Join us for part 3, where we'll cover even more important questions and how to end your interview feeling confident. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, everyone. We're in the home stretch now of our horse breeding interview prep. We've covered a ton, from showcasing your experience to handling those tough questions about how you act, your behavior.
And we've seen how RoleCatcher's AI can be such a big help. Like it gives you personalized advice and practice tools to help you improve your answers and feel good going into each interview.
It's like having a secret weapon.
Yeah.
Okay, but before we send you off to totally dominate that interview, let's go over a few more important questions. One that comes up a lot is, how do you market and sell your horses?
Right. This is where you have to switch gears a little bit. You're not just talking about horse care anymore. You have to show them you know how to run a business. So think about your target audience. Who are you trying to reach with your breeding program? Are you breeding, high-level performance horses for competitions, or are you breeding them for pleasure riding, or maybe even a niche market like therapy horses?
And once you know who you're targeting, then you can talk about your strategy. Are you using online platforms like social media or horse websites? Do you go to horse shows and events to meet people and show off your horses? Maybe you work with trainers or agents to find buyers.
Yeah, and it's really important to show off your horses in a professional way. Talk about how much attention you pay to detail when you're grooming them, taking pictures, making videos, things like that. Remember, first impressions are everything, especially with horses.
Oh, totally. You want to make sure you're showing off your horses in a way that highlights their best qualities and appeals to the people you're trying to sell to. Okay, now for a question that can make people a little uncomfortable. What are your salary expectations?
Yeah, I know it can be kind of awkward, but it's a very common question, so it's important to be prepared. Do your research, find out what other horse breeders in your area are making. RoleCatcher's career guides can be a big help with this, They can give you an idea of what the average salary is based on your experience and where you live.
Exactly. And think about your own experience and what you bring to the table. Like if you've been successful at breeding and selling good quality horses, you can ask for a higher salary, right?
Yeah, for sure. And don't be afraid to negotiate. But remember to be professional and realistic. Okay, so as you're getting towards the end of the interview, be ready for them to ask, "Do you have any questions for us?"
Oh, yeah. This isn't the time to just shrug and say, nope, I think you covered everything.
Yeah.
It's your chance to show them that you're really interested in the job and their breeding program.
Yeah, so you could ask about, the specific goals of their breeding program or what their management style is like, or or even about opportunities to learn and grow professionally within their organization. You could even ask about the horses themselves, like their bloodlines, their temperaments, how they're trained, anything like that. Just show them that you're genuinely interested and you want to learn more.
And don't be shy about asking about things like work-life balance or what the company culture is like. Those things are really important when you're thinking about your career.
Totally. Remember, an interview is a two-way street. It's not just about them checking you out, it's about you checking them out too. You want to make sure it's a good fit for both of you.
That's so true. Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive into horse breeding interviews, I I really want to emphasize how much RoleCatcher can help you. From analyzing those job descriptions to tailoring your resume and practicing your answers, it really can be like your secret weapon.
I totally agree. The AI tools they have can give you really personalized guidance and support, and that can help you feel a lot more confident going into each interview and help you really show them your best self.
Well, that's it, folks. We've reached the finish line of our horse breeding interview prep. We went through a bunch of different questions, shared some expert insights, and explored how RoleCatcher can give you that extra edge.
And remember, if you want to be successful in this field, you got to be prepared, you got to be passionate, and you got to be willing to keep learning and growing. Embrace those challenges, never stop learning new things, and let your love for horses really shine through.
And hey, who knows? Maybe someday we'll be interviewing you as a successful horse breeder. Until then, happy riding and good luck with your job search.